All right, y'all, 3:40. Hello, everyone. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four. Of course, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast, wherever you're watching Before the Four today, whether that is on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. As always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Tuesday afternoon here. Now, I believe it is time we jump into it, and let's begin in Huntsville, where the murder trial of Shaniqua Brown is now underway. Yesterday, during jury selection, we learned more about Brown's alleged relationship with lead homicide investigator Julian Johnson in this case. Johnson is no longer a Huntsville police officer, and Brown is on trial for the murder of Jasmine Moore, who was killed in 2019. And 48's Callie Neese will have more from day one of the trial coming up in our evening newscast. So make sure to stick around for the latest coming up. But now we're going to turn over to the weather. Truly a beautiful day out there today here across the Tennessee Valley. I know when I get off of work, I am going to be basking in the sun and soaking up as much of this beautiful weather as I can possibly get. But let's see if it's here to stay this week. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis lets us know. And take a listen.
Let's go through the overnight hours. We've got rain. You see that behind me. The good news is some of this is going to push out of here most likely before the height of the morning commute. Last night it looked a little bit slower, but today it looks a little faster. You can kind of see that on satellite behind me. Overall, Madison, I-565 here just before 3:30 this Tuesday afternoon. Traffic's in good shape, but we know how that changes quite a bit right after 4:30 or so. Current temperatures upper 70s, right where we forecast today, and it's just been a really nice day. In fact, we said this would be the nicest day of the week, and it probably is. As we take a look just off to our southwest, one thing that we do have around here today is more of this northeast wind here, and that's kind of driving slightly drier air as it mixes in, and that's what's going to make it a little challenging for all this rain to move in. So perhaps on the lower side of a half inch for many areas, but definitely dealing with some rough weather into northern Louisiana, eastern Texas, tornado watch south of Dallas. Here's what it looks like. I've adjusted this a little bit more than what the model had, just because I think I'm a little more comfortable showing at least some rain overnight tonight around here, about 1/4 inch to maybe a half inch at most, and that'll slide through. Most likely the early part of the morning commute, the roads could be a little damp out there, but then we just stay cloudy as we go through the rest of the late morning and on into the early afternoon. We're going to watch an area come in from the south, basically track to the northeast, and as it does so, we're going to see a few scattered showers out there, but not much nothing to write home about, so to speak. So nothing severe. Next 12 hours, the rain starts moving in after 1 a.m. It could be as early as 11 a.m. south of Smith Lake. Here's your 3-day forecast, some morning showers, some thunder, and then Thursday and Friday afternoon, pretty much scattered. Very unsettled weather. We'll talk about the 10-day coming up at 4, 5, 6, and 10.
And also, you guys already know the drill. Weather Extra tonight at 9:30. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will be back here in the CTV Center, giving you all the latest updates and the latest that he's seeing on the radar. Again, that is tonight at 9:30. But now let's head over to Madison. Last night, Madison's city leaders held a meeting to discuss whether or not the city should keep fluoride in their water supply. 48's Faith Delp last night attended that meeting, which lasted 2 hours with 30 people casting a vote. Let's take a listen to what she learned.
Out of those 30 people, 12 agreed with the board's decision to remove fluoride, while 18 people disagree, saying the board should reverse this decision and continue to add fluoride to the city's drinking water. It was standing room only Monday night. On one side, a pediatric dentist who agreed with the Madison Water Board's decision to remove fluoride from the public's drinking water. On the other, an orthodontist who completely disagreed. Like Janice Crosby, who decided to speak in more ways than one.
I'm here because I think the council was premature in amongst themselves basically voting to remove fluoride, and that's a decision that affects every resident. We need to have public utilities take care of the public.
Councilwoman Connie Spears doubles as the council's representative on the Madison Utilities Board. She's received 145 emails over the past few days about the fluoride decision, so she was not surprised when she saw the packed room. She says this is part of the job. People are going to speak out about what they believe is right, and it's her job to listen. Spears says another public hearing on the fluoride decision will be held on May 13th at 5:30 p.m.
Please come out and listen. We're going to do a presentation of the entire timeline, the process that happened, the process that is required by the state. We understand now that our community wants to be heard before the vote.
The city planned to stop adding fluoride by June 16th. Now there's a chance that decision could be reversed. We will continue to watch that. And the board is still deciding whether or not they want to have their upcoming public hearing at the courthouse due to the overcrowded room at Madison Utilities tonight. Reporting in Madison, Faith Delp 48 News on your side.
And now another story in case you missed it. In a 48 exclusive, a mother in Danville says 100 people saw who shot her son, yet nobody has came forward. 48's Nick Ballinger with the story.
On the quiet, secluded banks of Wheeler Lake in Limestone County, Amanda Cole says she wanted to see where her 18-year-old son, Keelan Spiegel, nearly lost his life.
I don't know why. I can't even answer that. It's just someone tried to take my cub from me here. It was scary, and I just wanted to see where he was.
Spiegel was shot twice during a late-night high school party on the Arrowhead Landing boat ramp at Wheeler Wildlife Refuge.
His girlfriend knocked on my bedroom door and was like, asked me to get up, said there's something going on with Keelan. I thought he was in a bed asleep and said for me to get to Huntsville Hospital that he was had been shot.
Doctors tell her it's not only a miracle he was up and walking on Monday, but a miracle he's even alive.
I almost thought he was dead, because they had him on the ventilator, had a bullet lodged in his spinal cord, and the other one just went all the way through him.
Spiegel is an 11th grade football player at Danville High School. His friends tell his mother this was a known spot for teens to drink, party, and shoot guns.
I just always heard they come here and hang out. I'm a little aggravated that I thought he was in the bed asleep, but what teenager don't do that every once in a while?
Limestone deputies say around 50 shell casings were found in the area, with Cole even finding more herself.
To shoot a gun like that and to devalue a human life, my kid's never been allowed to have a gun. Parents pay attention. If they're posing with that gun, then they're not smart enough about it.
His friends rushed him to the hospital and didn't call police when it happened. Witnesses say around 100 people were there that night, but no one has come forward with any information.
These kids, they get this traumatized look on their face. They just don't want to tell you nothing. They don't want to tell you they saw anybody do anything.
She's now left waiting for anyone to come forward.
And now coming up after the break, we'll go through a story in state news regarding adult-sized changing tables and a special event in Huntsville you're just not going to want to miss. It's all ahead. I'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, time is up. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. Well, now, adult-sized changing tables will soon be installed in public buildings throughout the state. A new law recently signed by Governor Ivey last week also creates a large grant program to help with the cost of the changing table installation. Funds will be used to ensure that public buildings undergoing new construction or significant renovations have adult-sized changing tables starting in 2028. 48 Sarah Grace Kennedy spoke with June Wilson with Changing Spaces Alabama. She says it will take some time to order and install all the gear. Of course, this new law was signed because it's often hard for caregivers of older children with severe disabilities to find places to change them. Wilson partnered with state senators and advocated for a bill that would make a difference in the lives of so many families like hers. Wilson has a 4-year-old child with autism who also needs to use an adult changing table. However, due to lack of access, she often has to change him in the back of her car or on the bathroom floor. Wilson says everyone deserves a space to be properly changed without being exposed. Take a listen.
It showed me, and I hope it showed a lot of other people in our state, that you can work hard for things. You can keep pushing. There are people that will champion you. You can have the conversation. Your voice matters. I don't care who you are. Your voice matters. Use it to say something and be heard. And so Governor Ivey signing SB 83 into law, we were heard, we were seen, and it was exciting.
Well, very cool. And now yesterday, I had the pleasure of having legendary Huntsville blues musician Microwave Dave come into the station and speak with him about Sober Sundays. Of course, the Sunday series that's been happening at St. Stephen's Music Hall. Microwave Dave is performing at this Sunday's event and certainly sounds like it's going to be a great time. The event focuses on sobriety and recovering from addiction, and even offers a mix of tasty non-alcoholic drinks and mocktails. Take a listen to what Microwave Dave had to say about his recovery journey this weekend and advice he'll give to anyone battling addiction. Take a listen.
If you're a person out there and you have taken a notion that maybe it's time you addressed your situation with any substance at all, there might be a chance to walk in and just stand by the door and look at people who have been through what you've been through. You don't have to interact if you're not comfortable, but just look and see that you're in a community of people that know exactly a version of what you're going through. They know it because they are living it, and they're living it out, and they're showing by being there that you can still socialize, you can still have fun, you can still be in a community of people celebrating without having to be victimized by your addiction and hopefully your former addiction. Mm-hmm. When I was going through this, I made up a poem. I wrote a poem, a 4-line poem. Actually, my best poets was
All right.
'Tis the nature of addictions to politic in our desires, demanding that we wing new fictions and simultaneously be liars. Because that's what addiction does. Addiction will come along and trip you up with the simplest little thing, and next thing you know, you've fallen. You get clean, you get recovered, and the next thing you know, some little silly thing that has nothing to do with anything has tripped you up. Mm-hmm. And you've made up an excuse for it in your mind already. You're a built-in excuse machine. So if you're out there and going into that phase to enough where you're thinking about maybe it's time, here's a great chance to go in and not only see some people and be entertained, but talk to some professionals who not only have been through, they're helping other people because they know how to do it, and they've been very successful in bringing people together. As Kim and Stephanie have been really successful with the people they have brought out of this. So it's a big deal. I have a lot of family and friends that have been through it. I can't think of how many musician friends I have lost to alcohol. Not driving, although some of that too, but the number of people I know who stopped drinking, got well, started drinking again, and then that ended their life. The system collapsed, and the last time you saw them, they were hallucinating in a hospital, and they weren't really sure who you were, but they were glad you came. You know, and I've been through that with people right here in Huntsville that I know very well. So.
Yeah, very great words there from Microwave Dave. And we'll have that full 48 Now interview published on our website later on this afternoon. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have the full details of Sober Sundays at St. Stephen's Music Hall happening this Sunday. And of course, the full interview with Microwave Dave. So stay tuned for that. But now let's turn over to the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. erosion on Montesano. We'll have more details on that coming up. More details on what Alabama lawmakers are doing to pass a bill that, if signed into law, will restrict cell phones in schools. And finally, happening this weekend, a fishing rodeo. Find out where, coming up in our evening newscast. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up. And now it is time for Facebook Fun, our 48 Facebook question of the day. Describe Alabama in one word. And that was actually hard to do for me. I would say beautiful. Alabama is certainly beautiful, especially up here in North Alabama. You got the mountains, you got the little creeks, you got, of course, the beautiful Lake Gunnersville. You have so much. Haven't even gotten over to the shoals yet, but there is so much beauty. I would describe Alabama as beautiful in one word, but let's see what you all had to say. Friendly from Gage Little. I agree with that 100%. So many friendly people here at the gas stations, at your local fast food restaurant, at just restaurants in general, people you see at Walmart. Everyone here is so friendly. Joseph said beautiful. Lynn said hot. That is true, especially here in the summer. It is very hot. It is very humid. That is a good one-word description there. Billy said home. Absolutely. Sweet home, Alabama. That is right. It is home. And that was a popular comment today. And how could we ever forget football? 100%. Whether you're saying Roll Tide or you're saying War Eagle, it is football. That is right. And basketball is on the come up too. And then Jenny said underestimated. 100%. Don't want to sleep on Bama. You don't mess with Bama. They say don't mess with Texas, but I say don't mess with Bama. But awesome comments for you all, from you all. Yeah, wonderful comments today. But that is just about all the time I have for today's Before the Four. Thank you all for sticking around and spending a bit of your Tuesday afternoon here. Make sure to stay tuned to our evening newscasts. And also make sure to stay tuned for Weather Extra tonight at 9:30. I hope you all have a great night. And as always, thank you so much for watching.